Your CRM should be your most productive member of your team. Am I right? So, in this episode, we're going to break down how HubSpot can help small teams automate, align, and scale without tons of tech overwhelm.
It blows my mind how many people will still say to me, we're using spreadsheets. All of our customers, all of our prospects, just in a spreadsheet. And then our best salesperson just left the company. And guess what? He took the spreadsheet with him. Like, we have nothing. Salesperson who is truly using HubSpot to its top capacity is functioning in the way that probably 5 salespeople using a spreadsheet are.
All right, welcome back. Today, we sit down with Jasz Joseph, who's a HubSpot guru, to discuss how lean teams can use HubSpot to simplify, streamline, and scale sustainably. So I'm pumped. I love HubSpot. I love this topic. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about it.
How did you get started in this HubSpot world?
Yeah, great question. So I worked for HubSpot agencies for years. I worked for big platinum, diamond partner agencies and started my own business in January of 2021. So almost 5 years ago here. And yeah, I really wanted to just do things differently. I didn't want to worry so much about billable hours and, all of the nickel and diming that comes with big agency life. I really wanted to just kind of embed in my client sales and marketing departments, help them see some quick wins, be that long-term fractional partner for them. And so, yeah, that's what I've been doing ever since.
That's so fun. Well, it's fun to me. But where do most teams go wrong where they need help with HubSpot?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, HubSpot is a really robust tool, which I always say is kind of a blessing and a curse, right? There's so much you can do with it, but it can feel really overwhelming. And I find that teams often bite off more than they can chew, or they just are using a tiny piece of HubSpot and they know that they're not getting the ROI, right? Like, I'll be the first to say HubSpot is not the cheapest sales and marketing tool out there. And so a lot of my clients will come to me and be like, hey, we're paying all of this money, hundreds, thousands of dollars every month for HubSpot. And we know that it can be generating thousands and thousands of dollars for us every month if we're using it correctly, but we're just not seeing that ROI. So we need somebody to come in and really help us optimize, train our team on it, make sure that our data is all cleaned up, and just help get this machine running for us.
How many people are not using a CRM at all? Or just like kind
Yeah.
of using it?
Yeah, a lot of people. I still, which it blows my mind, but I guess being in this world, I'm a little bit biased, but it blows my mind how many people will still say to me, we're using spreadsheets. We have all of our customers or we have all of our prospects just in a spreadsheet. And then obviously, that's not dynamic. You can't really track a lot in there. But the other side of that is I'll have people come to me and say, our best salesperson just left the company. And guess what? He took the spreadsheet with him. Like, we have nothing. And so,
Mm.
whenever you have a CRM, you have that full visibility all the way from leadership to sales to marketing. And I know we'll kind of dive into what that can look like more here. But if and when people do leave, you can jump right in and see exactly what they've been working on, what conversations they've been having, where they've left off with different prospects, with different customers. And so you can jump in and just continue that seamless process for your pipeline.
If you're a founder and you're starting from a spreadsheet, which a lot of folks are, it's okay.
Mhm.
Even companies that
Mhm.
are like 10, 20 million are still using spreadsheets. It's okay. That's why we're having this episode. What are some of the big mistakes to avoid when you're first putting a new system like HubSpot into place?
Yeah. Well, systems like HubSpot, it's clean data in, clean data out, right? And so the good news is if you have that spreadsheet, there are really easy templates that you can download to then put that spreadsheet into HubSpot and start using HubSpot. You can also connect HubSpot to your email and your calendar. So whenever you have new meetings or new emails from people, they're automatically flowing into the CRM. So it's not something manual that you're always thinking about and is always on your to-do list. But Yeah, having that spreadsheet, I would say the number one thing is like just making sure that that data is as clean as possible. Because I run into situations all the time where clients will bring me in and they'll say, we don't feel confident in anything that's inside of our CRM, right? People have just been like
Mhm.
dumping contacts and companies in here for years. And we know a lot of them are invalid email addresses or don't have the right first and last name or aren't associated with the right company. The list goes on. And so now we have this whole database that we should be using for marketing and sales outreach, but we're scared to even touch it because it's a huge mess. So that's something that as soon as you're onboarding needs to be a thought, and that needs to continue to be a thought for you through the whole process of owning a CRM. Because again, like if you're paying all of this money and you're investing this time and energy into having this tool, you want to be able to use it and you want to feel really confident about what's inside there.
I got asked this like 2 days ago. Okay, if we set it up and we have it, that's great. How do we keep the data clean and use the thing? How do we, as leaders, how do we do that? What would be your answer to
Mhm.
somebody who asked you that?
Yeah. So there's a few different ways that you can go about it. If you are like, right now, I know that I have a really messy CRM. I know that my data is dirty. You're resonating with everything I'm saying. You're like, I'm scared to touch it. I'm scared to use it. There needs to be an initial cleanup process. So whether that's bringing in someone like me and my team who specializes in that to come in and help you with that process, or whether you have somebody internally champion that, there needs to be an initial cleanup process so that we can say, okay, we feel really good about this. So some low hanging fruit that I recommend to everyone is pull a list inside of HubSpot of all of your emails that have bounced. HubSpot has the deduplication tool. So start getting rid of all of your duplicate contact records. Pull a list of records that don't have an email address associated with them. Can you put an email in or can you just fully delete them? Like, right, there's some really easy, quick wins that we can be doing just to feel better about that as a whole. So that's a really great starting point. And then after that, there needs to be a process in place to continue that because I see so often people invest time and money into this huge cleanup project just to go back to their old ways. And then months, years down the road, we're back in the same situation. So, a lot of times that means training your sales team. Generally, sales teams primarily own that contact data inside of HubSpot. So, training them or setting aside specific like office hours, time every week. I have a client who every Wednesday over lunch, like just gets everybody in a room and says, this is what we're doing. Like, we're cleaning the data. Like, sorry, like I bought you all lunch and like this is a necessary evil that we have to do. So I love that approach. Like make it structured, make it a part of the team culture, or you can hire somebody external. Like that's something that we do for our clients as well. Our clients that are on retainer is we have weekly cleanup processes to go through and do those checkpoints. A lot of them are really specific to their business or their custom properties that they have inside of HubSpot to make sure that everything's cleaned up, everything is where it should be, and then also flag the ones that we as an external vendor can't answer and send those to the salesperson or to the internal leader to say, hey, I want to flag that these need cleaned up. We're not able to attack it, but we're putting this in your court and we're kind of project managing that for you.
Okay. One thing that I've seen with companies, they've cleaned it up, they have it, they're running, and then one manager will say, "Oh, don't worry about it." Like, I'm a
Mm,
salesperson, that's where I started, so I get it. If it's not gonna make me money and it's getting in the way, I don't wanna do the thing. But, connecting your calendar is such an easy thing. Connecting your email is such an easy thing. But as soon as one manager's like, "You don't need to do that," the team just stops using it and it just falls to shit. So, how can leadership shepherd this continued use of the software?
yeah. So I think that it is really a tiered approach, right? So the best companies I've seen that really like full circle use HubSpot in the right way and have clean data are leadership teams that are using that data in their reporting. So leadership teams that want really strong visibility into what's happening with marketing, what's happening with sales, what do we have in the pipeline, what's closing, which of our marketing campaigns are contributing to that closed revenue, right? Whenever I have a leadership team that is really in that data, they're having a weekly meeting, they're looking at those dashboards inside of HubSpot. They're the ones who are going to flag as soon as that data is not making sense or it doesn't look right. They're going to flag that to the people under them, who are then going to flag that to the people under them to say, hey, this data has to be clean. So it's really a full company wide initiative, but not just to hammer the salespeople to say, hey, clean up, clean up, clean up, but to be able to use that in your role, whether you're leadership, whether you're marketing, whether you're sales. And then on the sales side too, I love what you said about if it's not making me money, then I don't care about it. Whenever we have really clean data, we're able to do a lot of work for the salespeople in the background. We're able to do a lot of that outreach and nurturing for the sales team so that they can focus on what they need to focus on that only humans can do, that actual selling, that getting on the call, walking through the demo, maybe a little bit of prospecting, right? They can focus their energy on those areas, and we can be doing a lot of that background work for them. And they feel confident in allowing us to do that because they know their data's clean, right? We're not accidentally sending a, hey, book a sales meeting email to a customer
Uh-huh.
because they didn't update the record.
And a spreadsheet cannot do that. If a spreadsheet is your CRM, it cannot work in the background while you're
Yes.
on the golf course with your customer. They can't.
Yes.
Oh, this is a great segue. We'll dive back into like how can we build go-to-market strategies and actually use HubSpot for a frictionless journey. But you just touched on leadership and the company proving the ROI. So, what kind
Mhm.
of dashboards or automations are you seeing have the biggest impact to show this ROI?
Yeah. I love when we're able to get so nitty-gritty to be able to see truly closed loop reporting. I feel like that's a buzzword that everybody talks about these days. But whenever we're really able to understand, marketing is running these three campaigns right now, and we can tie that all the way to closed revenue. Like to me, that's huge.
Mhm.
Because marketing is often reporting on marketing metrics, right? How many clicks did we get? How many visits to the website did we get? Maybe they're able to take that even to like how many meetings did we book? But oftentimes it stops there, it ends. And then we have sales, and sales is reporting on here's how many leads I have, here's how many conversations I'm having, here's closed revenue. But we're not able to attach those two to really understand of these marketing campaigns, is that helping sales? Like we often hear sales say, marketing doesn't send me any good leads, or the leads that come from marketing, they're not ready to buy, like they need more nurturing, whatever, right? There's always friction there. So instead of just having those one off conversations or marketing the flip side, right? I know we have marketers listening too. The flip side is marketing saying, hey, I handed the sales guy 20 leads last month and like he hasn't closed anything. He's complaining. Like, I don't know what the deal is. So instead of allowing that friction to just continue, 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 leadership can really come in and say, okay, let's look at the data, right? Because this is all he said, she said. Let's look at the data. You ran these three campaigns. This campaign produced $20,000 last month. This campaign only produced 200 last month. Let's shut down this campaign. Let's double down on the other campaign and just continue on in that way.
And business leaders, if you're working with somebody like Jazz who knows what they're doing, you can even have like attribution models where you can say, hey, this person found us on social and then they interacted with this thing and then they interacted with this thing. So you can see kind of, oh, where did they come from? Not just the last touch of somebody clicked this form. You can see the whole journey or a lot of it. It's not perfect,
Yeah,
but
yeah. No, that's a great call out. And that's becoming more and more important as the sales landscape is changing,
Mhm.
right? Sales cycles are getting so much longer. People are requiring so many more touch points before they're ready to buy, before they're ready to even speak to a salesperson. So, yeah, if you have the visibility to really see what's moving the needle for them, where are they at in that journey, that can be really powerful so that your sales team can prioritize reaching out to people who are ready versus reaching out to those leads who aren't ready yet that are just a waste of their time.
Yeah. So if you've got a CRM in place, you've got your HubSpot all set up, what kind of automations can help you? And is there any sort of automation that can hurt you?
Yeah. So this is really customized to each and every business. And so I like to ask my clients whenever they onboard, like, let's get out of the weeds for a second, right? Because a lot of my clients will say to me, like, well, this is broken and somebody set this up and we don't know how it works and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, let's like take a step back. If you could close your eyes and like wave a magic wand and things were just happening for you in the background, what would that look like? So that's a really powerful question. Anybody listening, like sit with that for a second. And HubSpot is such an amazing, robust tool that 9 times out of 10, the answer to that question is like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, totally, we can do that for you, no problem." So, I know that that's a really broad answer to your question. I would say a lot of what we talked about before in terms of nurturing can really move the needle. I have clients that will come to me and say, "We think that we need to hire more salespeople. Like, our sales team is maxed out, they're at capacity, we're not hitting our revenue numbers." And a lot of the conversations I will have with them is, let's pause for a second. Before we hire more people, let's see how we can enable your sales team and take a lot of that manual work off of their plate. So, how much are they doing in terms of outreach, in terms of nurturing, again, that we can just be automating in the background for them. The flip side of that is maybe they're so busy they don't have time to be doing outreach and nurturing. And so there's contacts that are just sitting in your database that haven't been touched in a really long time. And if we set up these campaigns for them, we can actually start generating revenue kind of in the background, and it acts as an extra salesperson or an extra couple of salespeople when you don't truly need to hire someone new.
Do you work with any folks that get, like, scared of this automation or to, like, let go of, "Well, I wanna know what every email is gonna say, and I wanna" how do you get over that fear if this is your first time working with automation in sales?
Definitely. Yeah. So I think it has to be a crawl, walk, run approach. I think too often people jump into this and they say, okay, we have these 20,000 contacts that haven't been touched, put them all in a nurture sequence. And that's where like messy, scary things start to happen. So, what I like to do is I like to sit down with each salesperson and say, hey, who in your book of business are people that you just wish that you had time to be talking to, and it's been on your to-do list forever and you haven't had the time. Okay, great. Let's take those 10 people and let's enroll them in a nurture sequence. Or a lot of what I'll do is, like, I have a client right now and they do a big push around holiday season. And so what we're doing right now is we're taking each salesperson their list of existing customers and we're sending them just an automated reminder sequence to say, hey, holiday season's coming up. If there's anything we can do to help you with gifting, to help you with holiday promotions, now is the time to start having those conversations. And so things like that can be really powerful because even on a small scale, they're saving you so much time, right? Think about how long it takes you to send 10, 20 emails. And then also remember when those people don't answer you to follow up with them in a few business days later, right? So I don't think it's these like big scale things that a lot of people are talking about. It's really niche and figuring out, okay, really specific to this industry or this job title, what are things that we can say? And then also really leveraging the salespeople to either write their own content or now with the rise of AI, we can do a really great job of matching tone and voice, even if we're writing the content. So again, because inside HubSpot, we're able to connect your email and have that visibility into how are you talking to prospects? What kind of language are you using? If the salesperson doesn't have time to write their own emails for these nurture sequences, I can come in and I can really mimic that tone and voice, and I can use AI to help with that as well so that we're sending emails that really sound like they're coming from this person, especially when we talk about customer nurturing, because you have a relationship with them, right? We don't want to sound like a robot. We want to sound like a human.
And that makes a huge difference when you get cold emails. Like LinkedIn's filled with, stop it with these damn cold emails that suck. Like, stop emailing me. If you have that ability to personalize or use a different tone than just the straight out of the box tone, that makes a huge difference for someone reading it. They don't
Yeah,
always know it's
definitely.
AI. How can this, how can using a small team use
Mhm.
HubSpot to create a clear, frictionless journey for their customers, their clients?
So I think it starts by taking a step back and actually being outside of HubSpot for a second and really figuring out start to finish or potentially using HubSpot for that data, but not jumping into building quite yet. And being able to understand, okay, all the way from first touch point, and like we just talked about, oftentimes it takes multiple touch points before we get to sales. So really identifying that. And I always say, like, go into your CRM or your spreadsheet if you don't have a CRM yet, and pull out one of your ideal customers, like somebody who you love working with, and really look at their journey of how did they find out about you? How long did it take to sell them? What did they purchase? Now that they're a customer, how many upsell, cross sell opportunities have they gone through? So let's not talk about this as if it's like a fictional world. Let's
Mhm,
actually look at real people that have been in your pipeline and understand what their journey has looked like. So once you have that mapped out in a whiteboard session, in your notebook, whatever, then you can go into the tool, go into tech, and start to build out, okay, here's the marketing campaigns that support this, and let's tag them. So HubSpot has a feature that is literally called campaigns, and you can take all of your different assets. So your landing page, your email, your forms, your ad campaigns, whatever it is, and you can tie them all to one campaign. And that's really impactful because then you can see instead of saying, okay, this ad campaign performed this way and this form performed this way, you can look at that campaign as a whole with all of your assets attached to it and see overarching performance. And then, of course, we can translate that over to the sales side and then even onto the customer service side. So after they've closed, how do we continue that journey for them, right? If they've purchased X product, well, Y product is a really easy upgrade or cross sell. So let's start nurturing them and sending them information about that and why it makes sense for them given that they've onboarded with product X. So there's so much at play here. And that's why I recommend before you dive into the tool, map it out kind of externally. And then you can start getting nitty gritty and building it inside of HubSpot.
I love that you talked about after their customer you're still working them. They're still in your CRM. Don't just leave them alone. What are some ways that a client journey, this flow of the first time they see you through they're already a customer, can break inside a CRM that you're seeing?
Great question. So I think one way that it can break is on the marketing side. So if we are marketing to a lead and we either pass it to sales too quickly or it just kind of dies. So let's talk about that, right? We have somebody and maybe they've converted at the top of the funnel. So they've downloaded an educational piece. If we're immediately passing them over to sales and saying reach out to them, they're not ready,
Mm.
right? So that's going to break. They're not going to answer sales. And then what happens to them? Like, are they just dead? If the other side of that is a lot of times they'll download the ebook, right? I think a lot of people are going to relate to this. And then they get your 3 email series that says, like, thanks for downloading our ebook. Hey, just checking in. What did you think of the ebook? Hey, you should download this other resource. And then what happens to them? Again, like they just end. So I think a lot of times, right, like we build these sequences and it's just not enough, especially as I've iterated multiple times, because our sales cycles are getting longer and longer. I'm seeing this across the board, across industries. People are just people are holding their money really close to their chest. They're feeling like they need to do more research, more analysis. And so, how can we meet them where they're at and continuously stay top of mind?
Hmm.
So those one-off nurture sequences that we used to create 5, 7 years ago just aren't doing what they need to do anymore. And then I would say on the sales side, um, putting your close lost deals into a nurture sequence is another place where people often fall off, right? So you're working this lead, they're like, yes, send me a proposal. You send it to them, and then they say, hey, we're not interested. It's too much money. We decided to go with a competitor, whatever. What I recommend is you track the reason why you lost that deal and then enroll them in a very specific nurture campaign based on that. So, for example, if they went with a competitor, reach out to them in 3 months and say, hey, just checking in. How's it going now that you're working with this other vendor? Are you enjoying it? I hope all is well. If it's not going well, I would love to chat with you, right? You can make that whatever, however you would say it. But making sure that those closed lost don't just, again, go somewhere to die. Making sure that they are continually being nurtured as well. So, really, every single contact in your database should be being spoken to on a regular basis in some way, shape, or form. So often I walk in and I see people's HubSpots and they have 40,000 contacts or however many, sometimes it's 1,000, and they're not speaking to a huge percentage of them. And I'll say, why aren't we nurturing these people? And they'll say, oh, well, we tried, right? We tried, we sent them a few emails and they never replied. Or, oh, we had an open deal with them, they didn't want to work with us. There's always opportunity to continue talking to these people, nurturing these people in a really helpful, friendly, human first way. That doesn't always mean, blowing up their inbox. This could be checking in with them every 3 months, every 6 months, even once a year. Whatever makes sense for your prospects in your sales cycle.
So you work with a lot of companies who are trying to get their go to market right. And having HubSpot in place is a piece of it. How does having HubSpot in properly align strategy with their day-to-day go do it actions?
Yeah. Well, oftentimes when we talk about go to market, I will say there's lots of tools at play. And the reason that HubSpot is an awesome option for you is because of all of the integrations that HubSpot has available. So, HubSpot's app ecosystem, if you're feeling it, you can just Google HubSpot app ecosystem, is unbelievable. They connect with pretty much every like major sales, marketing, customer service app out there. So that is a really big piece of the puzzle because you don't want things to be fragmented, right? If I can give you a million examples, but if your clients are using like a DocuSign or a Panda Doc to sign their contracts, how can you integrate that with HubSpot? If you're using a tool like Zoom Info, Apollo to do your prospecting, how can you integrate that with HubSpot, right? The list goes on and on. But that's a really important piece of the puzzle that a lot of people overlook is making sure that that tech ecosystem is working together and all integrated in a way that, again, allows you to have that really seamless flow from first touch point all the way through customer and also allows you to have that closed loop reporting that we talked about too.
So folks don't need 20 different tools?
No, not necessarily, right? HubSpot is 20, 50 different tools in one. So that's a big draw too, is it truly is, you can host your website, you can have your sales, your marketing, your customer service, the list goes on. But there are, of course, other tools that you're going to need to be using. HubSpot doesn't do everything under the sun. But making that strategic decision to integrate those tools and choose tools that do integrate with HubSpot can be really helpful, especially when you're growing at a rapid pace and you're scaling really quickly.
What's one of your first steps you take when you're onboarding a new team to HubSpot?
Yeah. One of my first steps that I take is customization. So I think often people try to square peg round hole inside of HubSpot. So HubSpot is built for B2B teams. And In some aspects, that generally looks the same, but every company has its nuances, right? You have really specific things that you want to be tracking about your customers or about your prospects. You have a really specific deal pipeline, right? You have steps in your sales process that you follow to a T. Some companies do a demo, some companies do a discovery call, right? That can mean different things to different people. And so that's the first thing that I do because I think if you're jumping into HubSpot and you're just trying to use it as an out of the box tool, oftentimes, like I said, it can be like square peg round hole. It doesn't fit and you're trying to make it work, but that's what creates friction and makes it really hard for your team to adopt and onboard to it. So the first thing I do is build out custom properties, custom stages, whatever they need to make HubSpot match what they're already doing from a sales and marketing standpoint. And then it makes it a lot easier to do training and onboarding and allow the team to start working in there.
It's not as big of a shift from the spreadsheet. It's just a little bit
Exactly.
a new place, a new home. So if we're talking about the future, someone's listening to this and planning 2026, where do you see HubSpot going next? And
Mhm.
how should a growing company think about building for 2026, not just this quarter?
Yeah. HubSpot, as all companies are, is investing really, really heavily in their AI tools right now. So they have Breeze AI, they have a number of new AI tools they're rolling out. They're rolling out AEO, which is like SEO for AI engines. They have tools for that. So that's really where they're headed. And I think a lot of companies are also thinking in that space. So as we talk about how can you save your sales team time, how can you make things more efficient? I would say don't be afraid of those new AI tools and really start adopting them, onboarding to them, getting to know them, because a lot of that is going to allow for more efficiency during the sales process, more data and research, again, during the sales process. So being able to know a lot of information about your prospect before you even hop on the call with them so that you can have really strategic conversations. It's going to allow for everybody to be more efficient, to move quicker. And so I would say for companies that are using HubSpot or thinking about using HubSpot, don't be afraid to try out those new tools, enroll in betas if they're not quite ready yet. And then also determine internally how you're handling the rollout of AI, right? Do you need to have structures in place for your team? Do you have guidelines for it? Every company's handling that a little differently. A lot of that has to do with different industries. But my biggest piece of advice would be don't be afraid of it. Really have that be a part of your culture to test and play with these tools because they can add a lot of value for your team.
How can a leader know that it's adding value? We talked about a little bit of ROI in the beginning, but how do they know, okay, this is working well, and now I'm going to upgrade and get the next package, or let's keep using it and double down on it?
Yeah. So that's where the reporting comes in. I think leadership needs to be paying attention to their revenue and having those dashboards that really show them all the way from start to finish. What does marketing look like? What does sales look like? How does that impact revenue? And when you have those dashboards, it's so easy to make these decisions to say, okay, here's what we're investing in and is it working? Is it not working? Otherwise, you're really playing a guessing game and you're trying to ask your team, hey, do you like using this tool? Is this working for you? And oftentimes you're going to get mixed results that way. So I think the best way to look at it is really to compare those revenue numbers year over year.
How much more effective do you think a salesperson is who uses a CRM versus a spreadsheet person?
A person who's using the CRM correctly is going to be 10 times more effective because, like I said earlier, they're essentially doing the work of multiple people. If you have these automations set up, if you have all of this data flowing in, you're not doing that manual research. You're not Googling these companies and trying to like figure everything out before you hop on the call. That's just there for you. You read a quick paragraph, you're ready to go. you're not doing all of this nurturing outreach. You have just leads flowing in or sales conversations flowing in for you. So a salesperson who is truly using HubSpot to its top capacity is functioning in the way that probably five salespeople using a spreadsheet are.
I'll give you a personal story.
Yeah.
We were a startup of like 3 people, and this was years ago. And I learned HubSpot. I was, like, taking the courses, so it wasn't like we were even using it to its fullest. So not even using it to its fullest, we were able to go from a few thousand a month to 100 million in revenue in 2.5 years with, I don't know, maybe 8 people total on team, including developers. Like, we had 2 salespeople, a customer success person, and me, and, like, that was it because we used the tools. So, I just
Yeah. It's amazing.
can't imagine what we would have done if we had somebody come in and help us actually do, like, true automation and we had the tools available today.
Exactly.
Nuts.
Yeah, exactly. I have a client, they're at about 11 million in revenue. And last year in 2024, we set up all of these sequences for them. Like I said, working in the background for their salespeople. And those sequences over the course of a year generated an extra $1 million in revenue for them. Again, like those were all contacts that were just sitting dead in the database. They hadn't been touched. Nobody really knew what to do with them. And we were like, let's just toss them in some really targeted nurture sequences. All of a sudden, people started responding to those emails. They started reaching out to sales and being like, yeah, let's have a conversation. Sales is quoting them. And yeah, just those sequences alone were an extra million in revenue.
It's nuts. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you wish every founder knew or would consider after they listen to this episode?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just the power of HubSpot and also using HubSpot to its fullest capacity and correctly. Obviously, I'm really biased, but I think it makes sense to either outsource or have an internal champion for HubSpot because it's really hard to have somebody who their full-time job is sales or marketing and then also throw this on their plate of there's this huge tool, there's a ton of different features. Can you just like figure out how to use it and train the team on it and tell them what to do? Like that's too much for one person. And so I think it's really important to A, start using it, but B, have somebody be your dedicated HubSpot internal champion, admin, and have them really own the system because that's important too from a data hygiene perspective and then also from an overall process standpoint.
I'll be biased too and say if you can afford, you probably can't afford not to do this, but if you can afford to bring in an expert who already knows the system, you're going to save so much time. They can still sit with you and teach you, but as someone who was trying to learn it late at night and on the weekends, like get somebody who already knows how to do it and it'll save you time and you'll use it better. You'll make a lot more money.
Yeah,
Spend it.
definitely.
So if somebody right now is listening and thinking our CRM is an absolute mess, what's one thing they can do in the next week that would bring them peace?
Yeah. Low hanging fruit when you're trying to clean up a messy CRM, get rid of anybody with bounced email addresses. So you in HubSpot, you can create a list. Show me a list of everybody whose email has bounced. Get rid of them. Make a list of everybody who you haven't spoken to in 180, maybe even 90 days, depending on your sales cycle, and get them enrolled in some kind of nurture sequence so that you can see is that clean data? Is that dirty data? So start just talking to people. Other easy cleanup things that sound so simple, but I see it all the time, like get rid of all of your duplicates. There's a deduplication tool. Sit in front of the TV and just go through them. It's super manual, but like it needs to happen. And then make sure the simple things are in place. Make sure everybody has a first name, a last name, a company name, an email address, because that allows for you to use personalization and feel confident in your personalization. And again, just like make sure that things are cleaner. So those all, again, they sound like really small things, but you would be shocked. Just getting those done, like you feel so much lighter. You feel like, okay, things are in a better place. I can actually start using this.
I've had a blast. I could keep talking about HubSpot all day. Appreciate you joining us and helping us learn what's coming, how leaders can take advantage of what's already there, giving us a little kick in the butt to get started.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me. These
Yeah.
were great questions and a really great discussion.
Yeah, we're going to link below so people can find you on the internet, all over the internet, and ask you for help or sign up with your team.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thanks, Chelsea.
Awesome. See you soon.